are you taking notes? Are you filing away mental notes? How do
Yeah,
you
I
even?
well listen, I learned my lesson, okay? All these ladies have folders, they come with like Rolodex and stuff. So I have two folders on my phone. One is called receipts and one is called dickheads. I don't know if you can say that on your podcast.
We
But yeah,
can let it fly.
okay. So yeah, I got two folders. Oh, and it's racking up, baby. I mean, I had to empty some of the storage.
Are receipts and dickheads, are those mutually exclusive folders or?
They're separate because
Okay.
sometimes I put people that say mean, horrible things about me in the dickhead folder just
Okay.
in case I meet them in person. I could go, is
Huh.
this you?
I want to gab. Okay, today we're gabbing with Danielle Cabral from the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Danielle was an absolute breath of fresh when she joined the show last season, and she's clearly leveling it up once again for her sophomore go round. Danielle, I'm so excited to chat with you, to get to meet you. How are you right now?
So nice to meet you too. Thank you for that intro. I am leveled up, baby. As you said, I am leveled up.
Was that the mentality going into your second season? Because I feel like a second season for a housewife, there's a little bit of pressure to sort of like follow up a good showing from your first season.
So for me, it was kind of the opposite. And it was what an idiot. I was so naive. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a back seat, actually. I kind of went through it a little bit, but little did I know that I would go through more this year than last year. I really thought I was going to be like, oh, like the other newbie, Rachel, you got this, babe. And it didn't happen like that at all.
Yeah, yeah. So this is obviously going to be another season for the books for Jersey, as kind of every season is, honestly, at this point.
Right.
But after that last reunion, where kind of everything was left out on the table, and it just felt more divided than ever. I feel like a lot of viewers, myself included, honestly questioned whether everybody could come back in the same capacity, like with especially with Melissa and Teresa, and kind of just all that being laid out there. As somebody who was in it, did you feel that way too, or did you know there was sort of a way for them to maybe coexist in this space still?
You know what? That reunion, because now I know that what we went through this year,
Yeah.
things were done, but we didn't know for sure about things. Everything was kind of speculation. So in my mind, like really horrible, horrendous, bad things weren't confirmed to have happened. So in my mind, I'm
Mm.
like, okay, well, maybe they'll just all come back and they'll be separated, right? But now looking back at that day, knowing what I know now, totally different. Totally different. And even for me, my own experience, like I was on that couch and I ended that reunion pretty good with everybody, but I had no idea what was going on behind closed doors against me. And
Mm.
I wish I could go back and slap the shit out of that girl. But whatever. You learn in life.
So are some of the things that you said weren't confirmed are now confirmed? Are we gonna be privy to those things this season that you're kind of alluding to?
Yeah. So one, we actually get confirmation on certain things that happened. And two, I get confirmation on who people really are.
Mm.
And think what I experienced with them changed. My opinions on them changed. I was blind. And what's the song? I was blind and now I see. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Mhm.
So one thing I'm already loving from this premiere is that you and Rachel Fuda are back on track, because you had a great friendship at the beginning of last season, and then you just kind of looked up and you found yourself on sort of opposite sides of this group, and I feel like that obviously impacted your friendship.
Yeah.
Is it kind of, is your connection, does that speak to like the fact that you joined this group around this at the same time? Does that instantly bond you with somebody?
You would think, I would think, I hoped that that would instantly bond me with Rachel. But in like true Jersey fashion, it just
Yeah.
separated and it shouldn't have. And I was very misunderstood, but I think we are on the right path now.
Good.
How can we not be? We have the same life. Our kids are young. We're both the youngest on the in the cast, and I enjoy our company. And I embrace the things that I couldn't stand last year. You know,
What
now I'm
what's one of
like,
those what's one of those things that you couldn't stand?
she's ice. Oh, we joke she's ice and I'm fire, fire and ice.
Yeah, that
But
makes
she
sense.
will like she will cut you with a look, and it's like, oh God. And I didn't like that about her in the beginning, but now I'm like, oh, Rachel, lighten up, girl,
Classic Rachel, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Classic Rachel.
And then we see you in the trailer. You say to her that you would stay 10 feet away from anybody who would ever hurt her. That's what we
Right.
see you say to Rachel. Is that in reference to Teresa, or I guess also kind of off that, does your loyalty to Rachel, does that impact your friendship with Teresa and Jen, or are those kind of separate issues for you?
Separate issues. That line didn't have to do with that. That
Okay.
line had to do with in our world, unfortunately, there are people that want to hurt us online or want to hurt us by spreading rumors or mean things. And that's what I was referring to. I don't play the game of like bloggers this reaching out. So
Yeah.
that's what I had said to her. Like, I would stay away from, like, if somebody's going to say something nasty about my cast, even if I don't like them, not my jam. So like,
Yeah.
I don't roll like that. That's what I was referring to. But
Yeah.
the her and Teresa, I stood out of that as long as possible.
As long as possible. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen some people say, Danielle, that they're, quote, excited for you to see the light this season because we know obviously the alliances shift in a huge way. We saw you on the other BravoCon panel this year.
Yeah.
Um, is that an accurate depiction of what you go through this season? Do you see the light, quote, with Teresa and Jen in your eyes?
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. I am looking forward to the reunion because when it comes to Teresa, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe that relationship. I'll be totally honest. But when I say I see the light in certain people, I really target that towards one person.
Hmm.
Um, and also in a positive way. I see the light where when I looked at Margaret or Rachel, last year, I see them differently now. And I see like, oh, wait a second. You were lying. They, they didn't do that. Like, like I just, and I'm glad in a way I came on with Jen and Teresa because I got to see what they're like as friends,
Right.
right? And how they roll. And now opposite. I mean, it was good and bad for me. I learned good and bad things.
Yeah. When you say you're not sure where you stand with Teresa, is that because you aren't sure if it's bad or good between you, or is that because
Yeah.
like, okay,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I have no idea,
interesting.
unfortunately. And that's a sad thing for me because we were actually kind of close.
Yeah,
Our husbands were close, and I actually enjoyed talking. I enjoyed conversating with
yeah.
Louis about certain things. And something was done that I don't like, and I don't know why. So we have a lot to unpack and discuss, her and I.
Clearly, we have a
Mhm.
full season, and then we have the reunion. So there's
And
something.
wait, the reunion. It's like, oh,
I
we
mean,
should
come
have a
on,
whole
we're only on
season
episode one.
on the reunion. Jesus.
In the trailer, Danielle, we see you and Jennifer Aydin have this big blow up fight where you call
Hmm.
her dirty. She says people will see your true colors. What can you tell me about what the breaking point is for your friendship or your relationship with Jen? Like where was that shift?
Right there in that moment, that exact things were leading up to it where I was like, huh? What?
Hmm.
Like, am I getting this right? And then in that moment, she does something to me and says something to me where I'm like, oh my God, everyone is right about you. Oh my God. Like there's level of like insanity, then there's like the depths go lower and lower and lower. It was the lowest someone could go. And in that moment, unfortunately I lose my cool. We
Right.
all we all do.
Right. Right. And you probably can't comment on this, but I kind of have to ask anyway. There were reports that things get physical at some point this season between you two. Is that accurate, or is that just something we're going to see the lead up to and kind of understand? Like, what can you say about that? I guess that's tough.
So yeah, you'll see how that unpacks, and it's not what you guys think. It's actually the complete opposite. But yeah, things get a little heated, unfortunately. And what I learned, listen, listen, I'm a Jersey girl now, but I was a New York girl. We handle things very differently in New York, very differently. And unfortunately, it brought me to a place I didn't want to ever go to, but it wasn't on me. I just defended myself. So,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I'll never let anybody get me like that ever again. Put
Hmm.
it that way. Well,
And
maybe one more time, but after that, no one ever gets over on me ever again.
at the last reunion, Danielle, I felt for you because I feel like that whole thing, in the finale, you brought up the thing about Melissa that it kind of felt to me that you were sort of a pawn in that situation a little bit, and I feel like that the lid on that was sort of uncovered at the reunion, and I
Yeah.
feel like that did that impact your how you looked at those two friendships with Teresa and Jen, or like did they take ownership in sort of putting you in that position at all? Like, I'm just curious how you think about that because that stands out to me from the reunion last year.
Yeah. Well, okay. Everybody had something to say about that with me thinking I wasn't set up. In my mind, whether or not they were setting me up, I knew I was going to tell her anyway. So even if they said to me on camera, she knows, I'd be like, well, I have to tell her. I
Got
have
it.
to bring it up because let her explain her story to the world. I didn't know she was going to come at me like that. But I saw a side of Jen that I should have, it was a red flag, and I never really said anything. I never even talked about it before. But when we were talking about it at Paulie's house, and I had said to her outside, I'm going to tell Melissa. And on camera, she goes, I don't think it's a good idea. No. I was like, what, girl? You told me 5 minutes ago to say it. And I kept a straight face for her and our friendship. And in that moment, I'm like, what are you doing right now? Like, I'm going to say it. And then I said, I said it because, like I said, I liked Melissa. I wasn't saying it to her to want to get her. I wanted her to clear it up.
Right.
But I'm going to go back, going to be knowing what I know now on that reunion stage. Yeah, I was sad. All
Right.
right.
I mean, and speaking of you, Melissa and Margaret didn't have the easiest back half of that season last year. Like, I mean, you and Margaret had that moment on the trip where you have a tense thing at the table. Obviously, you and Melissa had that thing. But again, now at BravoCon, you're on their panel, which was, there were two different Jersey panels because things are so divided
Yeah.
with your cast. How did you get back on track with Melissa and Margaret this
So
season?
I think with Melissa, she had to learn what kind of person I am. She had to learn my integrity and know that, yeah, I am friends with Teresa, but I didn't let that, I didn't take that out on you.
Right.
And I think with Margaret, we got off to a rough start and we cleared the air like grown adults. And I can tell you one thing, it is, it was a lot harder going against them last year and being friendly with Teresa and Jen than it is this year going against Jen and being friendly with them. Because, like, with those girls, I can have good, normal conversations. Like, we can talk and it's not about the chaos,
Hmm.
it's life stuff. And they have my back and they're like, you okay? I never got that. Let me just sit and listen to you complain about your life all the time. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying being friends with these ladies now.
That's nice. So
Yeah.
on the other side of things, it sort of felt like it was always about like the show and the group dynamic and sort of like
Yeah,
talking about that.
I envied their friendship. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was always with Jen and Teresa, but like I envied the girls. They would always get together and they looked like they had a great time. And I'm like, damn, they look fun. Like let me in your group. I'm not bad. I'm not that bad. And I think that's what changed this year. They were like, all right, we kind of like Danielle. Come on, girl, let's give you a try.
Good. Good, because
Yeah.
it wasn't that deep last year. It was your first go round too. You were new to the
No,
group.
it wasn't that deep. Like, okay, Margaret told me to let go of the issues with my brother. It'll make me better. Duh, I know that. Like, obviously, she didn't come to like destroy my life. She didn't come to destroy my family. It's a
Right.
big difference. I could forgive. Like Rachel, nasty little ice queen. So Rachel, I could forgive you for that. She doesn't want to kill me.
Right, right,
You know?
right, totally. Um, in the trailer, we see you talk about something that's happening in Teresa's life, where she's distraught because of stuff of chaos in her house, basically. What can we expect from that? And kind of going off that, I think what's interesting about this group in particular is that it's such a divided group, but you all kind of know different secrets and details about one another's lives. When you sort of do shift sides of things, I wonder if there's a worry that like, certain information, I don't know, like stuff about Teresa and Jen's lives, and now you're sort of friends with Melissa and Margaret. So I wonder how that's taken
Yeah,
from their side.
but I can speak on that. And the girls, meaning like Melissa, Margaret, Rachel.
Yeah.
Um, I never talked bad about Teresa or Jen. I never threw them under the bus. Jen does that all by herself. I don't have to do that.
Mm,
Teresa and Louis did certain things to the girls. I'm not going to sit there and like, defend them if it comes out, but I always respected my friendship with them. And the girls can even say that. Like I didn't sit and have lunch with, Melissa and say, "Oh my
right.
God." I was just saying like it's rough at their house because they were going through a lot of stuff legally,
Totally.
with like Louis' ex and stuff. And, it took a toll on their family.
Hmm.
Big time.
Hmm. Hmm. There's this hilarious moment, Danielle, in the premiere where Teresa comes up to Nate, your husband, and she's barking up the wrong tree about Rachel, and he just sort of backs away. He just sort of is like, I'm not engaging in this. And
Yeah.
what did you think of seeing that little moment?
Okay, I can say this. That is my husband 99% of the time. You will, however, see that 1%
Mm,
of a change in my husband at a certain moment this year.
okay.
When he shows up for his wife, which infuriated probably someone else even more because our husband never does. But my husband had my back when he needs to.
Mm,
Trust me. When we're doing these things, my husband situates himself behind a camera that's filming me. And he'll situate so I see him and he'll go like this. I
there
hear
we
him
go.
cry thinking about it. But like he's like, I'm here with you. You're good. And I'll just give him like I got this. Like I don't need you. I'm good. But he always lets me know he's there.
it's
But
it's that
it's
quiet support that, yeah, it
yeah.
totally. And I
Yeah.
think that the dichotomy of that versus like, I mean, a lot of the other men get way more into it, I think, more often, and that's kind of the
That's
nature.
fine though.
Totally. It's not a criticism. It's just people have their different natures, I think, and I think it's kind of cool for Nate to pick his moments more than versus have more moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Nate's not about the moment. Nate will be the first to say, let my wife shine, right? And I think that's great. There's many colors in the rainbow, so
Yeah,
there should be many
exactly.
different dynamics in a cast. And trust me when I say, I think we got enough with Joey Gorga and John Fuda and, Frank Catania when he shows up. And it's more than enough. It's more than enough.
Yeah. What do you say to people? I think a certain subset of viewers think that John Fuda is looking for a lot of moments. What do you say to people who would criticize him for that?
Uh, People going to criticize for everything.
Yeah,
Whatever. That's what John Fuda is. As long as Rachel's okay with that, which I also think John Fuda's on the defense now.
right. Because he was
When you're on the
investigated.
defense,
Yeah.
it sucks having a narrative out there that's not true about you. You want to scream from the rooftops that it's not true and you're a good person. I'm sure if I had experienced something like that, maybe Nate and I would be different,
Right.
but John's going through a lot and he he's vocal.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
he's a true Italian. Okay. They're very vocal.
Is the stuff that goes on between the Fudas and then Teresa and Louis, does that divide the group, or is that kind of remain insular to those two couples?
I'm going to tell you something. Anytime there's a dramatic situation that does not involve anybody on the cast, we sit back with a bag of chips and we're like, carry on. We're here for support, but you do you. So,
Okay.
no, it doesn't impact anybody. And I don't even think it impacts Melissa and Joe because at this point, they're like, John, you're good. You got this. We're just going to sit this one out, buddy.
Which is
So,
probably how it should be. Which is probably how it should be. You're not
yeah,
going to jump into the pool if you don't need to go swimming.
no, yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
I think that's a smart way to be.
Yeah.
And then Danielle, and in recent weeks, I don't really want to get into specifics of all of this, but there's been this whole thing of like certain people have been in contact with certain fan accounts. I think you alluded to it a little bit earlier in our chat, but like when something like that is kind of unfurling and it's not on the show, it's very much like in the weeds on social media, and it's just like, even as somebody like me who's pretty online, it gets pretty confusing and too specific, I think. As a cast member on the show, what's that like to have that? There's kind of like a lot of noise and whispers always kind of happening around you guys.
There's always going to be noise. like for me personally, just gonna let that story tell itself
Yeah.
and sit back and do these amazing podcasts, meet great people like you, talk about the beauty of the show, and what will be,
Yeah, totally.
you
And
know?
then, and yeah, yeah. In terms of your personal storyline this season, Danielle, are we going to see more about you and your brother? Are we going to
Smile. You want to talk my personal story? All right, come on, let's get good.
let's go, Danielle? Let's end it on a
Well, you
positive
were talking
note.
about my brother. All right, give me the wah wah. Go
Well,
ahead.
no, I
Let's.
know, I know. I mean, like, 'cause I remember at the end of the reunion last year, you were like, "I'm seeing him tomorrow or soon."
Yeah,
Are we gonna get updates in terms of that relationship
yeah.
this year?
So at the reunion, I was going to see him the next day of my Nana's funeral. Fortunately, that relationship is still not
Okay.
good. We talk more about how that relationship trickled down to other family members and how I, you know, it's very unfortunate, but you'll hear more about that story. But yeah, I think he had another child, and I just wish them well. And I don't know. That's all I can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Well, and I have to say, some of my favorite scenes on the show now are your family scenes because
thank you.
your children are just
Thank you. You're gonna get so many
irresistible.
good ones this year with the
Okay,
kids.
good.
So many good Valentina and my son Dominic. They're in a Kids Bop music video. So I'm like the quintessential state
No.
mom on set, crying all
Wait,
day.
a Kids Bop music video? What song?
It's out right now.
Oh,
It's
I
on
haven't
their
seen
YouTube
this.
page. Yeah, it's on their YouTube page. I cried the whole day. My daughter walked in New York Fashion Week wearing my line.
Oh,
I
yes,
cried.
yes. I've seen that.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
good
So
fun
the
things.
fun things, exactly. And then again, we are only one episode into this season. Into this season, there's a
Are
lot
we?
to go.
Oh God, we
I
are.
know
I
it's
know.
it,
Long way to go.
but you're already talking about the reunion. So like, is it?
Yeah, because I can't wait.
Are you taking notes? Are you filing away mental notes? How do
Yeah,
you even?
well, listen, I learned my lesson. Okay, all these ladies have folders. They come with like Rolodex and stuff. So I have two folders on my phone. One is called receipts, and one is called dickheads. I don't know if you can say that on your podcast,
We
but yeah,
can let it fly.
okay. So yeah, I got two folders. Oh, and it's racking up, baby. I mean, I had to empty some of the storage.
Are receipts and dickheads, are those mutually exclusive folders or
They're separate because
okay?
sometimes I put people that say mean, horrible things about me in the dickhead folder, just in case I meet them in person. I could go, "Is
Huh.
this you?"
That's
So,
hilarious.
but there are some show stuff in the dickhead folder. So.
That's hilarious. Well, I also last thing actually about that is like Dolores on the or not Dolores. I think it was Dolores and Polly talked about or Louis talked about at this dinner with Teresa and Dolores and Polly that like there was a meeting of the minds before the last reunion. And to me
Yeah,
that wasn't very surprising to hear because I think it makes sense to sort of get aligned before a day like that.
totally. Well, now knowing what they all went through, I, I would, sure. I mean, what's
Yeah,
the difference of them getting pizza together on a Friday night and they just, talk about what
talk
they're
about
gonna.
it.
They all went through very traumatic things, so
Yeah.
they wanted to. And when you come at these things, you can't be like me and yell and scream at the top of your lungs because you don't look very smart. I'll be the first to admit I look like the idiot. So they wanted to come in very level-headed.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And last thing is, do you feel like you want to find clarity or resolution when it comes to your friendship with Teresa? It sounds like the Jennifer stuff is just sort of like a lost cause, but with
Yeah.
Teresa, do you feel like there's a path forward for you guys to remain friends despite all of that?
I'm curious. I really can't wait to have that conversation with her. I'll be
Okay.
honest, because nothing was done. There was a lot of things said about our narrative, our friendship that didn't come from me. And I just want to know what happened,
Yeah. Okay.
you know?
Yeah. Well, Danielle, this is so much fun. I'm so glad that
I
we got to
have fun
chat.
talking. I feel like
Yeah.
a therapy session. That was nice.
Really nice and really great to meet you. I'm excited to see the rest of this season. And again, you're along for the ride now. And I think that
Yeah.
you're part of this machine. So
I'm operating, so I get
yeah.
it.
Well,
It was
good
so
luck.
lovely meeting you.
Keep your head up this whole season and we'll chat again soon.
Okay, you got it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
I want to gab.